living in my yome a little over a year now, and I love almost everything about it, but there is one thing that's been hanging over my head this entire time. The manufacturer of the building was never able to give me with any degree of confidence the amount of snow load that this building can handle. He did say he thought it could handle about a foot of powder snow, but Maine can have a hell of a lot more snow than that happen in a short time, and it can be a lot more wet as well. So it's left me in this unenviable position that I might leave during the winter, and there'll be a big heavy wet snow, it'll be too much weight for the building, and the building would collapse, which would totally suck given the amount of work that I put into it. So the solution to this problem is to build and install a temporary center brace that will support the center of the building to keep the building from collapsing when there's a lot of snow on the roof. I don't want this brace to be permanent because I really like the amount of open space I have in such a small space. So I'm going to build something that I can install in 5 or 10 minutes when I'm going to be away from the building for a while, and that'll give me a lot more confidence that I'll be able to leave without my home getting crushed while I'm gone. Occasionally, I run into a project out here that has no standard solution. There's no book I can look in to see a solution, there's no part I can buy to solve my problem, and those are some of the most challenging and rewarding projects I have. And this center brace is a perfect example of that. So The center of the building has, if you pull off the insulation, it's kind of got a big wooden donut there. And that donut kind of is the centerpiece that all of the other bracing for the roof attaches to. And so I had to figure out a way to provide center support with that as the thing I'm bracing against. Now, of course, a vertical beam is the most logical solution there, but because this thing is a donut, there's nowhere to brace it on in the center. I could have taken the pole and maybe just put it on one side of the donut, but the concern there is that there's going to be a lot of weight, and I really wasn't sure how much it would affect the stability of the building to have a support only on one side, or even forked it on two sides. So given that, it made sense that I had some kind of a disc that the pole sat under that provided even support around that donut. But that kind of leads to the final problem of, well, that disc is going to have to be pretty thick because it's going to have to be able to bear a lot of weight. And then how do I install the whole thing? So this is what I came up with. You can see that this is the part that goes into the vertical, or goes into the top donut. And this inner disc fits inside, and then this outer portion is what actually provides the bracing. And I did it this way so that the structure is stable. So I need it to be strong and stable and also easy to install. So basically the donut's here, and this thing would slide up inside, and this would hold it from sliding around, and this would provide the support. And then the underside of it is where the pole goes, and I kind of did the same thing in terms of keeping it from flopping around. So I just built a little bracket and left one side open so that I could slip the pole in. So this would go up and in, and then if you kind of look at it from the underneath, then this is sort of hanging down this way, and then the pole will kind of slip in this way, and then I can take this and pop that in there and put a couple bolts through it, and that will hold the pole. Now the one thing remaining was, well, how do I hold this big, this is not light, how do I hold this big heavy contraption up there in order to put the pole in? And that's where I came up with this little plan. These are, I got two of them. They're basically just rods with a brace on the end, and it would slip through like this, slip through like that. And so this would be looking at the top, right? This is up inside the donut. And so I'd have one on each side, and then I would slip the thing up and in, and then I turn these, and that kind of provides, it holds it up against the donut right there. So this is meant to keep this whole contraption from falling while I can get the other brace in. So I'd have one of these on each side, basically, look just like that. Now I don't absolutely know that this is going to work, but it's what I came up with because there was no instruction book about how to do what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to try to put this thing in now and see if my idea is going to work or not. Turns out that my clever holding rods were not that great of an idea. It's just way too hard to hold that heavy piece up in place and operate the wing nuts and make sure the little tabs stay in place to hold the disc in place. But while I was up there struggling with the whole thing, I noticed that there's some gaps on the outside that I might be able to slip some clamps around the whole thing and be able to just clamp it from the outside. Might be a lot easier, so I'm going to try that next. center support pole is complete, and it came out amazing. It fits a little bit loose, but I wanted to leave it that way so it was easy to get in and out, and I can just put some shims in the bottom to tighten it up a little bit. The completion of this project marks the second seminal moment in my journey out here in the woods. The first seminal moment was the transition from sleeping in my car and having nothing on the land to having basic shelter with heat in it. That was a pretty big deal, and I was thrilled to achieve it. But at the same time, I have never really felt stable out here. The most practical example of that is, in the winter, I didn't feel like I could leave for fear that my buildings were going to collapse. So now, with the completion of the bow roof shed and the addition of this center support pole, I feel confident that I can leave, and when I get back, I'm going to still have a home. And I really do feel like one of the most important things of a home is that it feels safe. And for the first time in the year and a half that I've been here, I not only have a structure, but I feel like all of my structures are safe. It's a totally different feeling. I can feel my system beginning to relax even as I talk about this and know that I'm going to be able to go away for a week in the winter, which is really great here in Maine because it gets awful cold. And when I get back, things will still be standing. The other big deal with the completion of this center support project is that I finally feel like I can stop pushing myself to work every day to get critical work done. There's still plenty of work to do, of course, but none of it feels like it's going to be disastrous if I don't get it done in a hurry. That feels so good to say. It just feels really relaxing to know that I can get things done when I want to. I can take a day off if I need to. I haven't had many of those recently. Really been pushing myself hard for the last 2 months. My body feels pretty beat up. And I plan on traveling somewhere, definitely somewhere warm, given how cold it is here right now. I'm going to do that and recharge, and when I get back, I'll figure out what I'm going to do next. There's shelving to put into my home, there's all kinds of improvements I could do outside, and of course there's always firewood to cut. But for now, I'm going to relax, and I'm going to celebrate my victory.